Hey there, guys. Just kind of wanted to update you on the release of the 2018-19 EFL fixtures. Looking from a QPR perspective, we've got Preston North End actually at Deepdale in our first game. A team that we didn't really fare against too well last season. Well, to be fair, we've really always kind of struggled against Preston. So it'd be interesting to see how this one goes. We look at the fixture that comes up after this, and we've got Sheffield United at home. Well, I was there last season. That was a very dramatic fixture. So it'd be interesting to see how we fare again this season. Hopefully, we don't have to go on such a rollercoaster ride against them. Hopefully, this is one that we can learn from. We understand the way they play now. We understand their main threats, such as Leon Clark, for example. So, moving into that, you know, with McLaren back now, and you got John Eustace as his assistant manager. What kind of tactics are we going to see? Because clearly, I mean, even though Holloway was a sentimental favourite, we all loved him, we all loved Birchie as well. What was going on there didn't work. 26 wins out of 80 games. As much as I wanted them to stay for the sentimental value, I think now looking on, in hindsight, probably changing a manager was a good idea. I'm not sure if McLaren is the right way to go for that, but hey, they must know what they're doing. But how many times have we said that about Tony Fernandez and Les Ferdinand and Lee Hoos? So it's going to be a very big season. It's transition once again, as if we've not been through enough transition in the last few years under management and the influx of players ever since Mark Hughes decided he was just going to try and buy the world and not get some chemistry together. But unlike that, we have actually got some chemistry in that team. There have been some really, really positive performances in that team, but there have been times where we've been left wanting. There's been times where, from where I sit in A block, it's quite far away from the other end of the stadium, but even I can see we're just getting passed around as if it was a training session, and you're just wondering why. Maybe in one game, yeah, that's okay, but why does this happen in so many of our fixtures, especially at home? You're meant to be the home team. You take the impetus to the other team. You don't come to play at home to get passed around as if you're mannequins. You don't play at home for other teams to come and show you how to play. You set the bar. You take it to the other team. You don't sit back, let the other team bring it to you and bring it to you and bring it to you. They score and then you go, oh, hold on, let's wake up now because we're actually in a spot of bother. So it'd be interesting to see, number one, if Jack Robinson stays, because his pace up and down the wing is very handy. He's got a decent cross on him. His shooting could be a bit better, but for a wing back, I think we can excuse. Can we keep hold of Alex Smithies? There's been interest from Birmingham City, so it'd be interesting to see if there's a contract offer to be offered to him. I don't know as yet, but if there is, what kind of terms are in it? How long is it going to be for? What kind of incentives is he going to have? It remains to be seen, but I really do think that Smithies, especially, is someone that we should be looking to keep hold of as we move into this next season and we working under a new manager. Well, I say new manager, we all know he's been here before, but new at this time indeed. And do we keep hold of Connor Washington? Now, there's been a few people kind of saying, oh, well, he's a good backup, but it's hard. I can see exactly where they're coming from, but not for me. Not for me. He scored some important goals. I will give him that. He's played out of his skin, but just not enough. Not every week. And that's why he finds himself often on the bench. Now, obviously, new manager, new philosophy, new way of going about things. McLaren may feel that Washington is somebody who needs to be starting every week, like he did when he first came in. But, as I said, we will see. And, I mean, I would like to be proved wrong. I would like for it to be that Washington goes into this next season just absolutely all guns blazing, plays amazingly, gets a good amount of goals. You know, 6, 7, 8 goals within the first 2 months, 3 months or so. That wouldn't be too bad. Bearing in mind we finished 16th last season, I think we can't ask for the world. But you know, at least a decent goal scorer, a consistent goal scorer would be good. I know we've got big Matt Smith and we've got little Smithy as well. That's a good little dynamic there. So whether Washington can work his way into that dynamic, it remains to be seen. He didn't really have too much of a say in that last season, but last season is last season. There was a lot to learn from. So all we can hope is that in these weeks now, with the players that didn't go to the World Cup, they'll be down there in Harlington. They'll be working their butts off as much as they can to ensure that they provide a better season for all of us, a better season for this badge here on my shoulder, on my chest even, and that they don't embarrass us the way that they did. You know, I've been through some really good times. For example, I know it may have not started great, but the Brentford game at home last season where we drew 2-2 with them, yeah, we didn't win. Fair play. But hey, if you stayed, you would have realised the euphoria that was in that stadium at the time. I personally stayed. I've seen some shocking results at that place. I've seen the 6-0 against Newcastle. I was there for that. You know, most of the stadium walked out. Me and another guy were one of the last people to leave South Africa Road, stand right at the end of the game. So trust me, believe me, I've been there through the good times. I've been there through the bad times. But it can't get worse, can it? 16th. I mean, gosh, we were really down in there. I mean, the fact that we weren't in a relegation fight towards the end of the season like we were the season before, I call it progression, but damn. To go from 12th and then in a matter of years finishing 16th, 19th, I mean, we're better than this. I mean, I don't expect us to be in the playoff dogfight every single season. I don't expect us to be up at the top of the table every single season. I'm absolutely realistic. There are some really good teams in that league. Whether they've come up from League One, whether they've dropped down from the Premier League, there are some good teams and some very, very good players that we could only dream of having wearing the blue and white hoops. But QPR are a team that have proven that they can get into the Premier League. So why are we waiting so long to see this again? What part of the mentality is it that is leaving us just wanting all the time? Leaving us thinking, how? How did we lose that? How did we draw that? And it shouldn't feel like what it felt like last season at home, especially for me. I went to a lot of the games last season until I started working weekends, where I felt like, oh, that's nice. We actually won for once. I forgot what that felt like. Forgot what that felt like. Do you understand how shit that feels? To know that you're forgetting how it feels to win because this team, oh my gosh, it's just one thing after another. If it's not poor tactics, poor mentality, just giving up at 1-0 or 2-0, just capitulation, injuries as well. What's going on with the medical team? Why are all these players getting injured so often? I know football's a very demanding sport, playing at the top level, but come on now. Come on now. You know? It will also be interesting to see who we bring in. There have been a few rumblings, a few players from the Dutch league, a few players from the French league, and a few players from actually lower down in the English football system. So nothing concrete as of yet. No real word from McLaren or Eustace on who we could possibly look to bring in. But definitely watch this space. And yeah, just we go into a new season, new manager, hopefully a few new players, and we may lose, and we've lost some as well. Who's going to be our new captain now? Chief is gone. That's something that needs sorting. You know, we've lost Mackie as well. Now I understand he was injured for a lot of the time, and sometimes his performances were not up to scratch. Absolutely granted, but that's another leader gone in the dressing room as well as Chief. So Do we feel this is now time for Joel Lynch to step up and perhaps become captain? We don't know, you know. Does he want that responsibility yet? Does he feel he's ready? Does McLaren feel he's ready? Or is there somebody right on periphery who we haven't even considered who could perhaps fill that role? So, watch this space over the next few weeks. There's a few friendlies going on. We've got Hayes and Yedding on the 7th, Stainstown on the 13th. We've got, who else we got? We got AFC Wimbledon on the 14th. That'd be a decent game. Hoffenheim on the 21st. And a replay of last year's completely sodden pitched game against FC Union Berlin, of course, where we lost Polter to. So, it'll be interesting to see how the team performs in those games. Obviously, they're not a barometer for the season, but hey, it's an early chance to... It's a good chance to have an early look at the team and see what kind of season we could perhaps, and I stress perhaps, be in for. So, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you want to see the club bring in as well. If there's anybody that's been catching your eye, perhaps elsewhere in the championships, perhaps in some of the other European leagues, just let me know. And who you want, not who you think the club should, but who you want to be captain for the forthcoming season. Cheers, guys. I'm out.